Thank you. Woolston Park Transportation Improvements Project, but I have got an answer on the question in relation to whether we have to see the original submissions on that, and I didn't appreciate that the last ones were the actual submissions. I thought they were just taking elements from them. So, Ian, would you like to provide advice on whether we are competent to make a decision on this matter, given that we don't have all of the original submissions in front of us, but they are fully described in the paper?
Yes, there are 2 points. One is that the staff letter to submitters, after the consultation, invited submitters to the board meeting on the 14th of March, and if they wanted to be heard, they could come along. The letter didn't specifically say that there was a final step, and that was sign off by the council, but I don't think, you ask yourself, was anyone disadvantaged by the letter? And I would have to say no. The community had plenty of opportunity to be heard if they wished to at the board meeting. The other aspect is the fact that the submissions themselves aren't attached to the report, but there are 3 detailed pages of an analysis of those submissions, and I think the council could quite reasonably say, well, we're sufficiently informed about these submissions to make a decision today without actually seeing every single submission that was made. That's my view.
Thank you. So would someone like to move that we adopt the recommendations? Sarah, seconded Dion. Is there any discussion? A question?
I have put this in prior to the meeting, and that was, have we had any information back from the Ministry of Education about what traffic safety improvements or funding that they will contribute towards this, given that this is a result of the merger of the 2 schools, and it was a decision of the Ministry?
I'm not sure that they've been approached, but can I say, for the purposes of this vote, let's assume none, and if there is some, then that's a plus.
Can we write to the Ministry like we're doing for Redcliffe's, where they're actually agreeing to fund some of the traffic safety improvements?
Yes, I'm perfectly happy for that to happen.
Seek funding?
Does the community board want to do that?
Well, no, I think it's better coming from the council. It's a council decision, and council staff were in contact
are the
with the
mover and
schools
seconder happy with
around
that
the
approach?
merger.
Yeah?
I thought that we'd had some advice on this earlier, in that the Ministry of Education's position was that because these were part of the suburban master plan, these are, W1 point something or whatever improvements, that because council had already planned these improvements prior to the school issue happening, that it wasn't willing to contribute because council was already going to do some work here.
So is that in writing from them?
I don't know that it was in writing, but I think that's advice that we'd got from staff.
Staff did say that to us.
Yeah.
We were going to have an MOU with the Ministry.
Oh, Yanni. I've spoken to you about that a squillion times. So we'll just have...
I think it's different because of the...
Well,
there's additional pressure,
The way I read this was that it is not entirely down to the master planning on Ferry Road that the particular changes are proposed. Yeah. So I don't see any harm in perhaps adding to the resolution that the mayor write to the, well, no, actually the chief executive should write to the regional manager of Ministry of Education to request a contribution towards the cost of the changes.
We should be doing that not just for this school, but for any school where these changes have happened, resulting in extra safety improvements, roading improvements. Yeah. The same will happen for Redcliffe's, where the Ministry have already indicated that they will contribute. Yeah. Because of that change. So we should be doing it for any school.
Towards the cost of
transportation improvements.
Yeah.
Transportation improvements. Where they've been impacted by school changes.
Yeah, where changes to the where adjustments have been made to the. I mean, it's their assets that have moved and brought people to a particular part on the site. But if you could say not adjustments, sorry, towards the cost of transportation improvements, where school developments have contributed to the need for the changes. We can play around with but that's the general gist of it. All right? Okay, any discussion? Yes?
Thank you. Councillors will recall that the school children came in front of us, I think it was during an annual plan hearing, and we heard repeatedly from them around the idea of having the speed of the cars going through this area reduced and increased traffic safety. I think it is a real shame that we can't lower the speed limit through here, and I think we should still be trying to do that. A number of submitters have talked about that. But the concern I have, and if you read the submissions, I'd encourage you to read the submissions. The school is not happy with what's been proposed. The after-school program across the road is not happy with what's been proposed. A number of people in the community have raised concerns. It's not that they don't want us to do something, but the concerns really focus on the location of the proposed crossing being too close to Hopkins Street, which is causing huge problems for the school and people accessing the school. Part of the issue here is with the merger of the two schools, there was no extra land acquired to deal with the increase in traffic that the merger generated. And so it's it was a bit galling at the community board to have a previous government MP come along with the school to sort of attack us for not doing anything in this area, when actually the ministry should have had some planning towards the merger that provided a safer traffic environment. And so as you go through the submissions, there's a number of people that wanted the crossing moved further along. And if you think about that, and the second point is a number of people also wanted the cycle lane. Smith Street as a connection, they wanted the local connection to connect into Woolston Park. And you've got a nice path going through Woolston Park that could easily have gone to the Sheldon Street and the river cycleways that we're looking at. But this plan does not do that. The shared pathway additional area stops outside the school. It doesn't connect into the park, which I think is a real lost opportunity. Also, we could, I believe, move the crossing further away from Hopkins Street, satisfy the concern that the school has had as to where the accidents have actually happened, and get a better outcome that more people are happy with, because that will retain some local parking for the local business on the corner of Smith Street, who has been through a horrendous time with the skirt works that were long overdue and just absolutely crippling, and that business is now going to lose its parking, which will probably mean it loses its livelihood. And I think that's a real shame. If you extend the crossing further to where actually it's no man's land, you've got the park on one side and the old Korean church that has no driveways, has a huge connection to our urban forest, you could have a much better, safer crossing. So I support the idea of doing the traffic safety in this area, but because of the concerns that have been raised in the proposed location, I will not support this. I would ask that you put 8 separate, and I also just raised the concern that, I do think it's unfair that the submitters were not told that this was going to the council. There have been other cases where we've had residents from Riccarton Road, for example, or Riccarton coming in and talking to us about things that have been via community board and then to council. And I think that's good. I think people should be given the choice and have the opportunity to come and talk to us, because we as councillors are the decision makers. And I do worry that the precedent that this sets, with us not citing these submissions from individuals when we're making decisions, if we agree to this today.
Sarah.
Thank you. The community board, who I think we should be trusting in this situation, has seen the submissions and has heard from staff, and Councillor Johansson's concerns were raised at the board meeting, and the staff were able to answer those ones completely to the rest of the board's satisfaction. Moving the crossing from where it is currently recommended to be simply transfers the problem. Yes, it could be potentially safer for those who live further down, who might not walk as far to the crossing where it is currently, but conversely, those people who currently use the crossing, and that's the majority of them, would then have to walk further and might choose to cross without it. And so it would just transfer the problem. And so to keep the crossing in the desire line for the majority of people who would use it safely, to highlight that the area is a crossing point, to get the school to do an encouragement, work with their students to educate them, say use the crossing, all of that kind of stuff will be really important. We did make a change based on a deputation on the day, and that came through actually in a memo, and I need to just make sure that that's captured by the resolutions today. The minutes of our meeting were changed at our board meeting on Tuesday because they didn't reflect the noting provision that the board made on the day. We didn't have the screen in front of us on the day. We were at a different site for our board meeting. And that was that staff are going to work to make the cycle lane through the intersection improvements, or the safety improvements, 1.8 metres the whole way through, by slightly narrowing the median and slightly narrowing the planting, the landscaping. But we had a deputation from Spokes because the cycle lane had gone down to sort of 1.6 metres around that area, and so that's going to be changed. Can I just make sure
So is that picked up?
That was in a memo that came, that's also in our agenda documents today. So that should be, it's in the agenda documents, you should be able to take it word for word. Yeah.
Excuse me, Madam Chair. You got the memo?
I've got it. It's in our agenda documents. It's in with our stuff on the hub.
Yeah, and it's being incorporated into the design.
Yeah, it's been incorporated to make it the whole way. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the additional memo
Yeah,
that
so
came
just to
out
make sure that
afterwards.
that's...
Yeah. All right.
But the board were satisfied by the staff's explanation in answer to Councillor Johansson's questions at the time.
Okay. So, right, well, the only thing I want to add is in relation to the point that Councillor Johansson's raised about whether or not people should have an opportunity to make a deputation to the council when we're just simply being asked to endorse the decision of the community board. I think that if we've got a commitment to delegating decision making, then a step to that is actually trusting the community board to hear the submissions, to actually make the assessment, call for additional reports if required, and exercise their judgment. And I want to back the community board. The community board's made a decision, and that's why I want to support the whole of the resolution. I think that one of the things that perhaps hasn't really been made crystal clear is that I have a discretion as the chair of this meeting to allow deputations or not. And if people have had the opportunity to make their deputations to the community board, which is where it appropriately should be made, then as a general rule, and I can't have general rules when I'm exercising a discretion, they would have, there is a relatively high bar that you would have to reach to show why it was not possible to make a deputation to the community board, and why making a deputation to the council just before it's due to make a decision is actually required, because I don't think that there would be many instances that would fulfil that criteria. And I'm going to ask our legal people to look at the standing orders again, because I think we just need to clarify this in the standing orders and make it crystal clear. I do not believe it is a good decision-making process when you've had hearings, when you've had submissions, when you've had opportunities to test these things at a committee level or at a council community board level, and then you basically get a second bite of the cherry, even though you're a different individual, to have the case presented in a particular way just by those who turn up on the day making a deputation. I don't think it's a good decision-making process. We had that occur with the local alcohol plan, and actually, in a way, deferring the decision away from the the whole of the presentations, the deputations that we had on the day, has enabled people to sit back and take stock and think through the issues. And I think that makes for a better decision-making process. So I am going to ask staff to work on the wording of the standing orders to make it clear that the deputations sit with those that hold the recommendation powers rather than the decision makers at the end of the day.
Can I just say that?
No, because we're in debate. We're in debate, so yeah. Dion.
I normally look at these things with a fine-tooth comb, generally because of the cost that's involved in these type of roading projects and the need to get them done right first time. But in the community board, and we've gone through this a fair bit, and Yanni's concerns are there, and some of them are valid, but the staff have done, in my opinion, a pretty good job of actually getting this one sorted out. And so from my perspective, when I was looking at it, I was pretty comfortable, and I think it does look at those safety concerns that the school has had, as far as I've been told and seen. And it will address some of the issues that are around there. So I think it is good to get this just done, sorted out. And if there was some savings to be found in the budget, it would be good to look at that link between Woolston Park and that. And so hopefully maybe we can keep working on that if there is a possibility of finding some savings in the work. But yeah, I mean, I do look at these things with a bit of a fine-tooth comb because of the money that's involved, but I think it's a good one to get done.